Hi everyone, let's see how to calculate the volume as well as the surface area of a cylinder. We'll take care of the volume first, but first let me state the formula. Given a cylinder of radius r and height h, which would look something like this. There we go, so we have a disk at the top, its height is h we said, and it has a disk at the bottom. Okay, so the height, let me just draw that, the height here, and that height is equal to h, and the radius of the disk at the base and the top of the cylinder is r. Well, the volume of that cylinder, which I'll call capital V, is equal to pi r squared times h. And it's worth pointing out that the pi r squared that we have in this formula is the area of the base. Indeed, the base is a disk, and a disk has area pi r squared, so I'll just write area of base. And the h we have here, well, that's the height of the cylinder. And so if you're familiar with the formula for the volume of a prism, this works in the same way. Careful though, a cylinder by definition is not a prism. So that's the formula we're going to use here. Back to the cylinder on the left-hand side here, whose height is equal to 12 centimeters and whose radius is 7 centimeters. We can go ahead and copy that formula, so that's the volume is equal to pi r squared times h, and all we have to do now is replace the r that we see here by 7, and the h we see here by 12. And so this becomes volume equals to pi times 7 squared times h, which is 12. And of course, if you're allowed to use a calculator, then all you have to do is type all of this onto your calculator and get the answer, which I'll go ahead and do in just a second, but for now, let me show you how far we could go without a calculator. So let's see, this will be equal to pi times 7 squared, which is 49, so that's pi times 49 times 12, and 49 times 12, well, you can go ahead and check, but that's equal to 588, so that's pi times 588. And changing the order here, we could write our answer in terms of pi, and we could state that this cylinder's volume in terms of pi is 588 pi cubic centimeters. And I'll go ahead and box that result. Again, let me insist, this is what you should write if ever you're asked for the exact volume, or if you're asked to write your answer in terms of pi. If not though, as I said, we could type this line into our calculator, or we could type this 588 times pi into our calculator, and in doing so and rounding to the nearest cubic centimeter, I find that the volume is equal to 1,847 cubic centimeters. And we're done. Okay, so that's the volume. There we go. Now let's look into the area. So the area, or surface area I could write. Well, let's see. Still referring back to the cylinder that I drew over here, with radius r and height h. The key thing to realize here is that the total surface area of a cylinder is made up of 3 things. Indeed, it has a disk at the top of it, a disk at the base of it, and there's a curved surface area that wraps itself around the side of the cylinder. Now, of course, I could just state the formula, but instead, let me show you how to quickly derive it. Here's the idea. As I said, there's a disk at the top and at the base of this cylinder. And so if I draw each of those 2 disks out, I've got a disk at the top whose radius is r, and I have a disk at the base whose radius is also r. Now for the curved surface area, well, all we need in order to create that is a rectangle that wraps itself around. And I'm sure you can picture this. If we have a rectangle whose height is equal to the height of the cylinder, so remember that was h, so let me quickly label that, that's h, and then we'll need to make sure it has a certain length so that when we wrap this round the cylinder, it fits perfectly. So, what's this length equal to? Well, again, going back to my cylinder over here, let me quickly draw a line right here in blue along the face of the cylinder, and I want you to imagine that this blue line is where this side of the rectangle meets this side of the rectangle. In other words, once we've wrapped it all around it, these 2 sides should meet perfectly. Then, the length that we have at the top and of course at the bottom of this rectangle should be equal to the perimeter or the circumference of the disk that we have at the top and at the base of our cylinder. And remember, the circumference or perimeter of a disk or circle is equal to 2 pi r. So that's the length or the base of this rectangle. Okay, so this cylinder's total surface area will equal to the area of the disk at the top plus the area of the disk at the bottom plus the area of this rectangle. And the area of the disk at the top is equal to pi r squared. So is the area of the disk at the base, so that's pi r squared again. And the area of this rectangle, which will be equal to the curved surface area around this cylinder, well, that's equal to its base times its height. So that's 2 pi r times h. And so I'll write that on the side here. The area is 2 pi r times h. Finally, the total area, and so the formula we're after, tells us that the area of the cylinder is equal to pi r squared plus pi r squared. So that's 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r times h. So that's plus 2 pi r h. And we're done. That's the formula for the surface area of a cylinder. And so just to be clear, this term here is the area of the two disks. So area of two disks. So remember there's one at the top and one at the base of the cylinder. And this area is the curved surface area of the cylinder. So I'll just write curved surface area. So now that we've derived and hopefully understood the formula for the surface area of a cylinder, let's go ahead and use it for the cylinder we have over here. Remember, this cylinder has a height of 12 centimeters and radius 7 centimeters. And so copying this formula, that's area equals to 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r times h. And now replacing every r that we see by 7 and the h that we have here by 12, this becomes 2 times pi times 7 squared plus 2 times pi times 7 times 12. Okay, now changing the order of the terms in each of these two products, I'll place the pi at the back of each of them, and at the same time I'll take care of this 7 squared, which is 49. In other words, this becomes 2 times 49 times pi plus 2 times 7 times 12 times pi. Remember, we can change the order of the terms inside a multiplication. We're nearly there. 2 times 49 is 98, so this first term is 98 pi. And for the next term, we have 2 times 7, which is 14, times 12, which you can go ahead and check, is 168. So that's 168 pi. Finally, we can write this cylinder's surface area in terms of pi, which would be 98 plus 168. So that's 266. And that's 266 pi. And of course, the units here would be square centimeters. Now again, this is the answer you would write if ever you're asked to write your answer in terms of pi, or if you're asked for the exact value. On the other hand, if you're granted access to a calculator, and you're not required to state the exact value, then you could go back to the very first line we wrote over here, and type that in your calculator. Or of course we could type this result here inside our calculator, 266 times pi, which rounded to the nearest square centimeter, I find gives us area equals to 836 square centimeters. And we're done. There we go, everyone. We've seen the formula for both the volume as well as the surface area of a cylinder, and we've seen how to use them. And all that being said and done, that's it for this tutorial.